Well, I've been shopping for a new, fast, all-rounder road bike. And today, I'm going to sit down on my front porch with a morning cup of coffee, throw out some thoughts on the bikes that I'm not going to buy and why. In other words, what am I not shopping for? Stay tuned. Hey, good morning. Granny Gear here for Old Guy on a Bike. Now, I have been shopping for a performance-oriented, all-rounder road bike that we're seeing on the marketplace today because after I rode the Basso SV, which was that bike, well, I was kind of struck by how exciting that was to ride, and I thought, I think I've got at least one more performance-oriented bike left in me before I retire to the e-trike. You know what I'm saying? So I've been shopping, I've been thinking, I've been looking, and in this video I'm not going to talk about what I'm going to buy necessarily as much as what I'm not going to buy and why. Let's get to it. Starting with the boutique European brands. For instance, the Basso. I'd put that in boutique. I'd also put things like Pinarella, the Dogma series and whatnot, and there's, let's see, Colnago would be in there, and there's probably lots of other brands as well. And the challenge for me with those is as good as they are probably to ride and also as unique as they are because, sometimes you don't want to show up at the coffee shop ride and you got your white shoes on and you got a bike that everybody else has got, okay? Maybe you want to have your white shoes on and you want to have a bike that almost nobody else is riding. Maybe something like the Basso or the Pinarello or the Colnago or what have you. The challenge for me is where do I find one to ride one? Where's the dealer? Is there good support, as me as a consumer going forward? Do I get parts for it, etc.? For instance, like the Time bike that the ADHX, I just bought that without being able to ride it. I rolled the dice and that worked out really, really well. But what if it hadn't? What if it didn't work out very well? Of course, the cost of all of those are typically fairly high. Now, the Basso, I didn't find it. It found me. They reached out to me to let me try and ride it, and that worked out. But if I hadn't liked it and I'd bought it, so maybe some of those European brands with the high cost, as attractive as they are, I would have to really, really care about having something unique or it had some amazing quality for me to do that. And I just don't think, at least right now, that's a priority for me. What about, let's call them mid-level brands? And I don't mean mid-level in quality, but in like the company size or their presence, their footprints in the US, how many bikes that they sell. And they can still be kind of more on the unique end. I think of companies like Cervelo, maybe Bianchi comes to mind, or Bea. Scott Bikes. I think I'd put Scott Bikes in there too. Bigger in Europe than they are in the US. Again, sometimes it's like, well, where do I find them? Where can I ride one if that's important to me? As well, some of them just don't stand out for me as like, why would I buy that bike? Okay, if I had to go seek it out, what is compelling me? What have I heard? What have I read? What have I experienced with that brand that makes me go, that one? And a lot of times with some of those brands, some of what I hear, it isn't really what's important to me. I think Cervelo seems to focus on like stiffness and lightness and raciness. And yes, I do want some of that in the bike I want to buy, but I don't want just that. And a lot of those brands, and I'm not going to name any names, I keep my ear to the ground in the marketplace and in the industry a little bit, And what I hear sometimes with some of those brands is, well, we have somebody ordered one of their bike and this proprietary part, we need it, and as a dealer, I can't get this company to return my calls. They're saying they don't know when they're going to have the part in. The guy needs the part for his bike. We've ordered a bike. We don't know when it's going to be in stock. And I think some of those brands, are they going to be the next cycling brand to just leave North America because it's not the great marketplace for them and they really are focused on being in Europe? And now it's like, they close their US office and there goes your dealer support. Something to think about. But there's also bikes like, I think of like Ventum, right? I see them advertised on Lance's thing and I looked at them and I've seen them at trade shows and stuff like Sea Otter. Quite nice, not terribly expensive. And sometimes, I guess I haven't found one that has the attributes that seem to ring the bell for me. Like the Ventum NS1, I looked at that, I thought the price is good, it's good looking, it's kind of aero, it's modern looking in all of those ways, and yet it kind of has a reputation for being kind of even a little bit more aggressive than I want it to be in fit and ride quality. And I look at that and I think, none of those so far have caught my attention enough to where I really want to invest in them. Small companies as well, and will they be around that much longer? It's kind of hard to tell. It's easy to start a bike brand these days, but it's not that easy to survive with one. So maybe there is that. Now, the next thing I'm not shopping for is something with round tubes. And by that I mean a metal bike. Not at this point, I am not. Maybe sometime in the future. Not that terribly interested in steel, even though a custom steel frame is a lovely thing, and I probably would rather have a custom steel road bike than a titanium road bike, just because I think steel has that snap on the road that titanium is really hard to get. But I don't want one. For instance, here's kind of why. The other day I'm in a bike shop, I'm looking at a Vamoots CRD, which has got to be one of the top few, trying to make a round tube metal bike look modern by using internal hosing, cable routing. I don't know if it takes cables, but you know, hoses, brake hoses and stuff. In through the frame, through the handlebar, through the stem. Okay. I mean, for me, if I don't have internal routing on a bike, I'm not going to look at it at this point. Okay. Not for a fast road bike. Just not gonna. Looking at this Vamoots CRD, that's an expensive bike. I mean, it's really expensive. And I bet it rides beautifully. The guy that owns it, I was talking to him, he's a bike shop partner, owner there. He loves riding that bike. But when I was looking at it, it just looks old. And I don't mean like it looks like a classic, you know, racer biker from days gone by. But to my eye, I am so used to looking at the shapes of the modern road bike that it just was like, that doesn't look right. I remember when I first saw the Cannondale Super 6 Evo, when it came out with the new one, like the new model that's out now, with the drop seat stays and the bigger tube shapes and the aero and no cables shown and all that. And I thought, that is the shape of modern road bikes going forward. And within 5 years, they're all going to look like that, at least at a certain price level. So I don't think I'm looking for a round tube metal bike of any kind, because to my mind, they just don't look right to me. Now, maybe an aluminum bike like might get there, and some of the shaping of that and the internalist maybe, but no, it's not where I'm looking at the moment. Well, the Chinese are coming, aren't they? And at this point in time, I am not looking at a Chinese direct, in other words, a brand that is a Chinese company with their own name that sells direct, maybe from Panda Podium, you know, that website, or just maybe direct to consumer. In other words, I'm not talking about a frame that's made in Asia, because pretty much all carbon frames are. I'm talking about a brand that is a privately branded, factory-made, Chinese-owned, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm talking about, like Windspace and no, so many of them out there. At this point in time, I'm not looking for one of those, but at some point in time, I certainly could be. Here's why. The quality of those frames at first wasn't very good. Bottom brackets weren't round. You started looking at the refinement of that in the construction. It was kind of sketchy. That is not so true anymore. Now, the prices are coming up on some of these nicer frames, okay? They're not as cheap as they used to be. You may see something like a $3,000 Chinese-made frame where at first they were a third of that, okay? But the quality has come way up. And I was just watching a video, one from Hambini and one from GC Performance, and some of the, I think one was a Windspace frame, I can't remember. Anyway, and then one I never even heard of, it's a new one because they keep cropping up all the time. The quality and the look of that frame, wow, they are stepping up their game. And I think the quality on some of these better level Chinese frames, man, it just doesn't get better than that, does it? But there's a couple things, 3 things really, that still has me concerned and why I'm not shopping yet. One is support, and you know, there's no dealer support there. There's probably not a U.S. distributor. If you get a frame and there's a problem with it, there's warranty issues. I mean, how does that work? Some of the main brands, I think are probably really good, but still, you just don't walk down to the shop and point to the crack and go, I need some help with this. So there is that, if that happens, even though it may never happen. Secondly, what I see is the fit of a lot of these Chinese frames is very aggressive. They're very low stack. They're kind of long. I think that reflects maybe the Chinese marketplace. The sizing can be a little wonky for taller Americans like us. And I think that's maybe getting better as they realize that they want to sell to North America and the rest of the world. But Chinese people, by and large, are not very big people. And I understand the roads there are pretty good. The pavement's pretty good from what I see from some of the videos. And so the ride quality of some of these Chinese frames is on what I've heard, okay, I've never experienced it, it's been on the firm side, shall we say. And so we have this kind of aggressive fit that may not be made for taller riders. I'm 6'2" like me, and the ride refinement doesn't quite seem to be there yet compared to something like, you know, your Tarmac or even what Cervelo puts into their bikes. You know, pick any of these main brands. Don't seem to be quite there yet. But let me tell you, there's going to be a point in time. If I was a Western brand putting out very, very expensive carbon frames, I'd be concerned. All right, what about the big boys? What about the big Western brands? We're talking like Trek, Cannondale, Specialized, Giant, and I'm going to throw Canyon in there as well. One at a time. Giant, there isn't anything that they make that I'm interested in. The one bike, they're aero race bike. I can't remember the name of it. I'm not shopping for it, so I haven't really looked for it. That's a bridge too far for me. The TCR, the fit isn't quite there. It's a kind of low stack, and yeah, TCR doesn't really light me up. So yeah, Giant doesn't have anything I'm interested in. Trek, well, they have the new Madone, don't they? That's latest gen Madone. People call it the Madonda, where they kind of mixed the climbing bike, the Amonda, and they mixed it with an aero bike, and they came out with this. And you know, that's a bike that has gotten very, very mixed reviews. The sizing seems to be kind of challenging in the way they kind of broke the sizes up into t-shirt sizing. What I've heard about it doesn't make me want to buy it. Now, I know somebody that has one and loves it. And I'm not saying it's a bad bike in any way, and maybe it's a mistake for me not trying to ride it, but I'm just not motivated to go out of my way and get one. However, with a bike like this and any of these brands, well, Canyon maybe is a slight exception to that, but any of the major brands, you've got this Giant dealer presence, don't you? And that's going in a big way for Trek, because you've got warranty, you've got a company that's going to stand behind it, et cetera, et cetera. But Trek, the Madone, just not really on my list. Well, Cannondale, well, that's a old and storied brand in the U.S. Actually was U.S. owned and U.S. made, if I remember right, back in the day when they were aluminum or aluminium, depending upon where you are in the world when you're watching this. Of course, now that's owned by some giant sports corporation thing like most of these brands are these days. Cannondale Super 6 Evo. I remember when I first saw that bike, I think I already said that, didn't I? I was talking about round tubes. If I didn't, I remember seeing that, and with the drop seat stays and the aero look and the internal routing and all that, and I said, that's what bikes are going to look like. But for some reason or another, I don't hear a lot about it. And what I do hear from some of the reviewers that I kind of trust, I'm just not hearing things that I love to hear. And I don't know, the one Cannondale road bike I did have, there was something about the handling. It just didn't come together for me. I never figured out what it was. And that's what I hear in the reviews. Some people say, well, I don't know what's going on with this bike, but it just doesn't feel balanced to me. And you know, if you're going to spend that kind of money, you kind of want to aim for the top, right? So right now, although the Super 6 Evo is certainly in my wheelhouse as far as fit and the look, probably not on the top of my list either. All right, that's it for now. Just me, a cup of coffee, and my thoughts out loud. Let me know what you guys think. If something I've said struck a chord with you, and if you were going to be shopping or been shopping and you eliminated something or went some direction that you think is different than I did, well, let me know. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Because I'm still shopping. I got to make a decision soon. I'm getting pretty close to a decision, I think. We shall see. Got to work out the details. In the meantime, you guys have a great week and/or weekend. And as always, go ride your bikes. And don't forget, coffee is good.